Welcome, fans, to a special edition of Rangers Ed. Today, we are joined by a special guest. He grew up on Long Island playing for the Greater New York Stars, the Edge, and later played Junior A for the New York Apple Corps. After that, he went on to play at SUNY Cortland and then finished his career playing at Stony Brook University with the Seawolves. He went on to become a referee around Long Island at the travel level, as well as Junior A and B up to ACHA Division I. And yes, he has refereed Coach Ed and I's games in the past. He is currently stationed at Ladder 151 on Queens Boulevard for the FDNY and is a proud member of the FDNY hockey team. Please welcome to the show, Bryan Elfant.
What's up, guys? Very glad to be here, and look forward to talking to you guys tonight.
Yeah, man. Thanks for joining us. We were looking forward to this, and we're looking forward to watching the game on the 15th. But yeah, before we get into that, I guess talk about your playing career growing up on Long Island, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I grew up in Rockaway in Queens, and I pretty much played. I started late. I didn't start playing till Pee Wee, and I played for Greater New York, and I was a decent player when I was younger, nothing special. And my dad, like Rockaway where I grew up, hockey really isn't a big thing. So the idea of driving anywhere further to play kind of wasn't really even on the table until I got a little bit older. So I played pretty much Tier 2 hockey until I was like 17. And then I was definitely a late bloomer. I played midget AAA for Apple Corps and then Junior B and then 2 years of Junior A. Kind of, to be honest, when I was like a junior in high school, I was on the third line of my high school hockey team in Beloit. And I kind of at that time was playing like 100 games a year. I was on 3 different teams and I kind of got better like really later on. So I definitely had a different experience than a lot of the guys I played with, because most of the guys at the higher level played, Tier 1 all the way through, and I kind of went a little bit of a different route.
Interesting.
You're muted, little Ed.
Do that all the time. Yeah, so after that, you went on to play at SUNY Cortland. What was that like? I mean, you played for the team.
It was kind of weird. So I aged out of junior, so by the time I got there, I was like a 21-year-old freshman, which is a very interesting dynamic when, the rest of the freshmen in the school and the dorms are all 18. So I don't know if I have to go into too much detail. You can imagine what goes on. You got a bunch of guys drinking and dorm with a bunch of 18-year-olds, a little rowdy. So I only stayed there. For a year. I had a great time. I mean, on and off the ice. I only dressed like half the games, and we were only graduating, I think, 2 seniors on forward. So I could have stayed and played a little more the next year, but I was going to school for finance at the time, and I had been in contact with Coach Garofalo at Stony Brook over the years, and it seemed like a good move just academically and also to get a little more playing time. Nothing but good things at Cortland. I had a great time, and to be honest, the hockey was pretty similar. You guys are familiar with the ACHA. Some of the top teams are pretty legit. The top 10, 15 teams are comparable with a lot of teams at the D3 level. So,
yeah, I mean, Quinnipiac is a great example of that. They were a club team for their ACHA for a while, right? And then they moved their way up into NCAA Division III, and then eventually on to Division I, and then they just won the national championship. But Cousin Ed actually went to Cortland, so you guys can probably share a few stories with your experiences, similar experiences.
Did you celebrate Cortica?
Now Brian's muted. These damn mute buttons.
Yeah, he took his AirPod out. That's why.
Mikey, can you unmute him from there?
I tried.
I don't know.
Can't.
Should be on the screen,
so for fans that don't know, in SUNY Cortland, there's an event called Cortica. So when Cortland football plays Ithaca football, hence Cortica, all the student body of Ithaca and Cortland get together and just have a huge rager party that lasts like 4 days. And it's it's pretty messy. It's pretty messy. So did you celebrate Cortica, or you were too busy playing hockey?
I think the year I was up there, we actually had a game that day, and pretty much got back. I think we played maybe Hobart. We got back like late in the day, and they kind of joined in late night and tried to catch up with everybody. What year were you up there?
I was there 2 years, so I was there 05, 06. Is that right? 07, 08 maybe? Hold on. When did I graduate high school? Jeez. 07, 08, I was there.
I'm trying to think. I might have been there in 08, 09.
So you were right
Yes.
after me.
Yeah, right
Cousin
after
Ed
that.
was their statistician for a brief period of time there for one of his classes.
Yeah, I did the sport management and stuff, so I was working with
You
the
guys
hockey
would have
team
ran into
closely.
each other if you were doing it at the same time. Yeah, so you went on to Stony Brook from there.
Yeah.
Our listeners know that Coach Ed and I coach their D2 team now. So what was that like coming back to Long Island? And I guess you were commuting to Stony Brook, or did you move up closer to there?
No, so actually, I played there for 3 years, and I lived in 3 separate houses. As you guys know, hockey at kind of somewhat of a higher level. It's a small community, so I had a bunch of my friends were at Stony Brook. So it was kind of easy transition. My roommate and line mate from Apple Corps was there, yeah, it was easy transition. Hockey, like I said before, was really good. We had a decent few years. We didn't really make a run too far into nationals, but the hockey was good. As you guys know, dealing with Garrow, he could be a little bit of a pain in the ass. But,
Well, I was going to ask you about that, but I figured,
Just in case he's listening.
No, we had a great relationship. I did get into a little trouble here and there. Didn't follow all his rules, and it was kind of funny. So my first year on the team, we had our captain was like the stay-home defenseman, and then he's the assistant coach there still now. And the next year he was running the power play, and I kept busting his chops. I'm like, "You're telling me what to do? You didn't play one shift on the power play the entire year beforehand." So, yeah.
Well, some players like that make the best coaches most of the time, though.
Yeah, but maybe not on the power play. He's stay in his lane and teach how to take penalties and hit. That's what he was good at.
Well, they watch.
Who is the assistant coach there?
Colin Brumstead.
Okay, no, I don't know him.
Yeah, he's been there for a while.
Did you play with John Sandos or no?
So Sandos was at Cortland a year or two before I was there.
Okay.
Yeah, he was. He's still reffing now again, actually.
And would he have played with Corso?
Yeah, I don't know. Did you play with Corso, Chris Corso?
He played. He was still at school. I played the year after he left. He was still at the school, but wasn't playing anymore. I played with a bunch of at Cortland. There was a bunch of Long Island guys. There was like Frank Rizzo, Mike Egan, Justin Papora. No, I didn't know his names.
Mike Egan. He was a tall defenseman, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I played against him. him.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Yeah,
I don't know him, but I played against him.
Yeah, it was half the team was from Long Island. It was funny at the time when I was at Cortland. The coach was very against recruiting any Canadian players. I mean, maybe that's why we were like in second to last place in the SUNY. But yeah, we had all guys. He tried to recruit a lot of Long Island guys and a lot of guys from New York, and we weren't too good when I was there.
Definitely got a sprinkler from other areas.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess getting into the fun stuff, your refereeing career, or at least maybe you could share a coach ed experience if you got one. But like, what made you get into refereeing? Did you start while you were still playing? Did you wait till after?
So I actually started when I was 11.
Oh wow!
Yeah. To be honest with you, I never had a different job as a kid. Guys work at delis, grocery stores. All I did was ref. So I don't even think you could start till you're 15 now. At the time, it was pretty much you had to just ref, whatever age group was under you. I started with it in-house and then worked my way to travel. The problem that I had is that, trying to ref and play at the same time was very challenging. I'd be, even in college, I was, I'd ref in the morning and then try to play at night. And I, later on, I was doing 300-400 games a year, which, yeah, at the time. So when I graduated college, I used to work in finance, and I'd work in the city all day, ref men's league at night, and then ref all weekend. So to be honest, a lot of the times when I was out there reffing, I was probably exhausted and then just not in a good mood. And as you guys could tell, sometimes my attitude on the ice wasn't the greatest. I think I was just kind of one of my regrets about my reffing experience is that I'm sure I was kind of an asshole at times. I was just very, very much burned out. I had a lot of good times with it. But for me, I kind of used it as more of a job, which is probably maybe not the best way to go about it. Looking back, I kind of wish I had a little more fun and, didn't do as many games as I did, just because I feel like I would have had a better attitude.
Right.
I know I got into it with you guys a few times.
No,
but
I
for
mean, I was going to try and make you feel better. You're actually one of the referees we always talked about. We always look forward to seeing what you on
I
the ice.
appreciate it.
I mean, yeah, you could be tough at times, but you have to be tough to wrangle a guy in like Coach Ed wearing a cowboy hat on the bench, thinking he
Well,
knows everything about the game, right? So
Wait, you
Yeah,
wore
I
a
think-
cowboy hat on the bench?
he still does. What do you mean? Every game.
Are you
It's a
kidding me?
staple.
Well,
Yeah. So Brian, I got to ask if you got any kind of a story, if you can remember back that far.
So yeah, I remember I was probably having a bad day, and I was getting into you guys a little bit, and to your point with the cowboy hat, I'm pretty sure I was going back and forth with you, and I don't know if you heard me. I yelled something at you like sick cowboy hat, you nerd. I don't know if you heard that, but
I don't remember a lot.
We definitely would have remembered that one. So,
Yeah.
or at
He,
least I
he
would
thinks
have.
he's John Dutton.
yeah,
Well, the
Yeah.
one thing about Brian, look, every coach has it in with all referees, but he never got to the point where you're arguing with him and he's like, I ran into a few in the Catholic League. I don't have to mention any names, but they thought they were above you and better than you, and
They
I'm
egg
the
you
boss
on.
and you're not. I'm the boss and you're not, and they just shut you down and threw you out of
Yeah.
the game or whatever. It never got to the point with that because you understood the life in general.
yeah.
Everybody's working and doing this as a volunteer. Even if you're getting paid to ref, it's really not earning a great living. So I feel that you understood that. You came over and talked, and even after the game, you'd say something, and it was like a human being type of conversation, not like I don't want to talk. You get out of my face,
Right.
So it was always that mutual respect on my end. So we always looked
Yeah.
forward when we saw you in the warm up.
No, 100%. I appreciate that, and I think one of the biggest problems a lot of the refs have, and especially younger guys coming up, and I was always a big proponent that if I made a mistake, I tell you, like, I screwed up.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
think coaches respect that. And I think a problem that I had when I was working my way up is that a lot of the guys that were reffing at a higher level, even Catholic High School League and midgets and juniors, a lot of the guys never really played. So they were very much like, oh, this is a penalty, not ever taking consideration, the time of the game or the situation or any
Yeah.
judgment involved. It was, this is how it's supposed to be. And it's kind of funny, like the supervisors didn't like that I actually added some context and perspective into it. They wanted it called the way it was supposed to be, and I didn't do that. And so I'm glad you guys appreciated that, but some of the supervisors didn't, used to get on me all the time about it.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So you incorporated a little bit of game management
Exactly. Yeah.
into the reffing, and as fans just watching the NHL, we can tell that's what's going on with the refs too. They even do it at that level. So of course you're going to do it. And you were reffing youth hockey, right?
Well, I did like varsity high school. I did I did juniors. Like I said, I worked up to ACHA Division I.
Nice.
The biggest problem that they're having is so like I said, I kind of looked at it as a job, and for me it helped me put a down payment on my house. And once I got in the fire department, I was reffing like crazy in the academy to afford my house. The problem is that now they want you if you want to do juniors, they could send you to Wayne, New Jersey to ref one game on a Saturday night. If you're aligning it, you're making $80. Who the hell wants to do that?
Yeah.
It's paying for your tolls and maybe
It's
some
crazy.
gas and a meal. That's it.
It's
You're not getting anything.
crazy.
Yeah.
So that's why, for me, I'd rather stay home and do 2 high school games and a midget game in Long Beach. Financially, just made more sense.
Right.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. Yeah, but the
Yeah,
game
just-
management part, I mean, fans, we get frustrated with that at times, but it really is just part of the game, having played the game, you just know, like you said, that,
Yeah.
that little tug, when the team's up 3-0 and, with 2 minutes left or whatever,
Exactly.
like you're not going to call that penalty,
Well, the
That's
thing I
interesting.
remember about you as well, not to blow your horn too much,
No,
but
no.
I always remember
my
that.
wife doesn't do it. Someone's got to talk me up a little bit.
I always remember, like, you would interact, even if you recognize if the player was having a bad game. Again, they're kids too. They go through a lot in life, and you recognize in situations you would try to talk the kid before you hammered him with a misconduct. You'd say, "Look, calm down, relax," and you'd walk them through it a little bit, coax them through it. Now, there are a couple of referees I've come across who kind of do that, but most often than not, like I said, they have this power trip attitude, and it gets crazy. So,
Yeah.
when
Or even
when
like
you
a
run into guys
marginal
like
hit,
that-
like a high hit, you'll come over and say, "Hey, we got to keep your hands down." The next one, you try and give them a warning, not a warning, but try to explain how to play the game a better way and throw a better hit.
I mean, I just remember growing up playing as a kid. A ref gives you a 10-minute misconduct on a Sunday, right? You look forward all week to playing on the weekend. And now you got to, go back to middle school or high school, whatever it is, and now wait the whole nother weekend because the ref threw you out for half the game. And as a kid, you look forward to play all week. So I didn't want to do that to a kid unless I really had to.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Didn't really think of that. Coach, what technical questions did you have for him?
Well, should we bring up the no change thing?
Yeah, I mean, you have to.
What do they teach you? I mean, I went to a few of the ref courses. I always wanted to start doing it. Then my job or whatever, I never got to pursue it, or I never did pursue it to make extra money. I went to 2 of the whatever you want to call it, seminars.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what do they talk about with this no change on the icing? It seems like they're so hyped. They're more focused on that, even at our baloney college level that we coach, than like controlling the game.
I feel like there's a lot of stuff. So with the icing, it's at the high, at the college level, it's to give an advantage to the team that didn't ice the puck to get their fresh players on the ice.
No, I get the point of it. I know the rule, but I'm like, they're so like
all 4 referees like just run over to the bench as fast as they can.
It's like
meanwhile, there's like a scrum or something happening in the corner that they're not paying attention to or something, whatever.
I mean,
Especially
it's to the
college
point.
level.
It's to the point where, like, if I know a referee so gung ho about it, I'll just send kids over. I know he's going to say back. I just try to. I'm like,
we wouldn't do that to you. We wouldn't do that to you, Brian.
I mean, to your point, even I don't know if you guys remember at the youth level, they had the whole thing now where you were supposed to put your hand up for the face-off. You guys remember that?
Yeah, it was another.
And you're supposed to get out to the blue line, put your arm up like this, and let the home team change afterwards. That was another thing. Guys got so obsessed with that, and now I'm reffing a Bantam Tier 3 game. The whole point is so that the home team has an advantage and can put a better line out. But at some of these levels, the coaches aren't matching lines. The kids don't even know why you're out there.
Yeah.
You're just going through the motions because this is what at the seminars they drilled into you. And to what I speak, I was talking about before, I kind of try not to buy into all that nonsense they were telling you because a lot of it wasn't practical and didn't help you, run the game.
Right.
In the Catholic League, for example, these guys were obsessed with mouth guards and
10-minute misconduct. I remember that.
Crazy. There is no bearing on the game. All you're doing is now taking away from the game and making it a show about the ref giving guys mouth guard misconducts.
He gave that one guy in Coney Island. Gave our goalie a 2-minute penalty at the start of the game. Oh my
God, I remember that.
Just because he didn't have his mouth guard. When he never wore a mouth guard, the goalie. I know the rule, but I mean, you got to give him a penalty. He didn't even warn him. It was like it was. I almost wanted to choke him. It was like ridiculous.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I've got into it with guys who were doing that in games when I was working with them, and I'm like, you're making this about you, and that's not our job. If you go and do a game, and the coaches and players don't even realize you're out there, that's when you did a good job.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's what I always want. One other question I got, which we always talk about, we noticed Zibanejad arguing a lot at the face-off. What is the rule on who puts the stick down? What are they always kicking the guy out for? I know they're kicking them out if a player goes in motion. I get that. But when they kick the center out, what's the rule on that?
I'm pretty sure that the home team's supposed to get their stick down first.
Right.
So it's probably just the timing of that. If the guy's not squared up properly, or if he, a lot of guys cheat. Like I know when I take face-offs, I'm turning before the guy drops the puck.
Right.
To get an advantage to win it back to the defenseman. So sometimes if the guys are turning early, the linesman will be like, all right, square up. You
so that's why they fake it.
Yeah. And then if you do it a second time, he might toss you.
So it's basically the home team gets puts the stick down first.
Yeah.
All right.
No, it's not that. He's saying that it's when guys cheat, they get tossed.
Well, that mostly.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
But they fake it too much, man. It's like way too much. It's so annoying.
Is that something that you have to worry about, like on the junior level, or or is it not as strict? I mean, I know that's kind of we see it on the NHL level all the time. I mean, I don't think they do it as often, maybe on the levels you ref.
So to be honest, I was a terrible linesman just because I feel like you're not even in the game, and also I'm at the junior level. I was one of the shorter guys on the ice as a linesman, so nobody would see me anyway. But I didn't really pay attention. But you guys do focus on that. I always preferred the ref. I just felt like lining was kind of boring. You're just out there trying not to get hit with the puck at the goal line.
Yeah, it's tough.
So
go ahead. I got one last question. When I'm
no,
ready,
go for it, Coach. Go for it.
What, like, I remember when I reffed like Pee-wees and stuff a few games, right? And you're like reffing, and then like Eddie was playing midgets, and the ref didn't show up, so they're like, "Can you ref?" I couldn't believe like the size of the kids and the pace of play difference.
Yeah,
it's like I can't believe how these refs don't get killed in the NHL, because you watch the speed of that game. How did you prepare for that? Like doing a men's league game at night, then going to a junior game a day later?
Well, forget about a day later. I would have days, like I was saying, when I was reffing a lot, I'd do 6 or 7 games in a day. I could have a Pee-wee game, a midget game, a junior A game, and then a midget E division. Sorry, a men's league E division at midnight to finish the day.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it was.
No wonder why the refs just want the game.
Yeah,
to
no
get
wonder
over
why
with.
you gotta. Yeah.
Yeah.
No wonder why I'm playing. I'm like, why are these guys calling any penalties? Because they just don't feel like it. Like it's over. It's the end of their day. We lost them again for a second. Yeah, that's a lot. And I guess my next question is, how do you keep track of all the different like rule changes? I know, I guess like the youth leagues, like you're saying, Pee-wee, midget, whatever, Bantam, that's all very similar. But then you're getting into juniors. I mean, men's league, there's very, very limited rules or whatever. But how do you differentiate between the different leagues?
So this is that was one of my MOs, that I didn't really know any of the rule books. I kind of just wung it.
That's why I like them so much.
Welcome to the show, Brian.
Yeah,
I think that's all right.
That was one of the biggest knocks on me, is that I kind of and it was funny. Like, I've been doing it for so long. I don't know if you got. I actually stopped reffing about 2 years ago when my first son was born. But yeah, I was doing so many different. To answer your question, I was doing so many different leagues, and I was almost like, after 27 years, I was like the senior ref around. So no one really gave me a hard time, except, some of the supervisors. But yeah, I just kind of fake it till you make it kind of thing. Unfortunately, I did that way longer than I should have. Yeah, looking back now,
you did a great job at it.
Thank you. Looking back now, I kind of wish I would have, taken time. I did know, for example, the Catholic League, there was certain penalties that were, 5-minute majors and butt ending and the ins and outs of what penalty. You could have the same penalty. It would be 3 different, a 4-minute penalty. Yeah, different formats, and that was probably my weak point. And I definitely wish I would have spent more time getting that down. But
yeah, they even had the one season they said if you curse, it's a 2-minute penalty.
Yeah.
And the one kid on our team said like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
And the guy gives him a 2-minute penalty. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get
We're
the
gonna have
idea.
to start putting Coach Ed in the box for cursing.
Oh my God, it was brutal.
Anyway, do you guys, when you guys are coaching Stony Brook, do you guys have the same guys mostly every week doing the games?
Pretty regular, yeah.
Pretty consistent, yeah. But we coach a lot of games up in Connecticut, so those guys are usually pretty much the same throughout. Around here, yeah, I guess so. We see a lot of old faces, but a lot of new faces. A lot of people that we've definitely never seen before. So yeah, I mean, you mentioned before that cause you've been trying to say something for a while. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say, like, I just can't imagine reffing like a junior A game, because I reffed when I was a teenager. I reffed, and I was also an umpire. I actually umped one of Little Ed's games.
Called me out on strikes.
Yeah, so he was. It's funny because he was walking too much. That was the thing. Like, he had a really good eye at the plate, so he was just walking too much. So, anything close, I called it a strike to try and get him to swing. So I called him out on a 3-2, outside corner on the black fastball.
No way, it was a ball.
And he was pretty upset. He was like, what, 12? I don't even remember.
Probably,
probably
like 14.
I reffed hockey. No, I reffed hockey too when I was like 15, and I was doing like 12-year-olds. And dude, it's hard, man. Like, even being a linesman, like calling off sides, it's the speed is not fast and it's still hard. So you get like you get like not an impression, you get a appreciation, right, for NHL referees. You still get mad at them, but like Coach said, I mean, I can't even imagine doing a junior A game. The speed of that game is probably difficult.
So I would say it's kind of probably opposite of what you think. For me, doing a junior A game or let's say a 18U AAA game is actually easier than doing, let's say, a Pee Wee Tier 3 game. And the reason is the coaches are usually better. Coaches know the rules. The players know the rules. The parents of the kids that are there watching know the rules. The hardest thing for me was you're doing a lower level game and you got these people screaming at you, have no idea what they're talking about. So I found doing the higher level games was actually way easier than doing a lower level game.
That's a good point.
Probably
That's a good point.
A lot more enjoyable too, I would imagine.
Yeah, it was just less nonsense. The lower level guys are crashing into each other because half of them can't skate. I always found that the high level games, as long as you can keep up with the speed, were easier to do, believe it or not.
And less skating when you're an official as opposed to a linesman.
It depends. It used to be old school. It was the 2 linesmen and 1 ref system.
Right. Yeah, you would skate a lot.
Yeah, then you would skate a lot. But they moved to 4-man, and now this very minimal skating.
Yeah.
When you got,
the other thing. One
Yeah.
other thing about the games, like when you do like it was squirts were like 12-minute periods, and one of the things I find with coaching was when I first coached Stony Brook, I never coached a 60-minute game until then. You're like, when's this game going to end? And especially if you have a lead, you're like, oh shit, there's 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
Mike,
So
you got any refereeing questions before we move on?
By the way, the
what
Islanders
is-
are currently up 3-1, guys.
Mhm.
So
It's a little
Let's sneak
scary.
in.
What it in like your opinion would be like the hardest call to make?
I'm trying to think what I had, a hard time with. I would say going back to what you guys were saying before about misconducts, when you want to give somebody, the difference between giving someone, either a boarding penalty for 2 minutes or hit from behind, that's a 2 and 10. You can distinguish, is it worth sitting a kid for 12 minutes? Or is it better? Like we were talking about before, I would probably go up to a guy and be like, "Yeah, I did you a favor. That's boarding. Like, be careful if he turns." So kind of the judgment in knowing when to take a penalty and kind of kick it up to higher level and make it a 12-minute penalty instead of a 2-minute penalty. It's probably the hardest aspect of it.
Yeah, actually, we never really thought about it from that point of view. We were always like yelling at the ref or wondering why they didn't call it or why they did. So I don't know. Maybe Coach Ed and I will turn over a new leaf come next season now. But you mentioned you started out in finance out of college, but now obviously you're a firefighter. So what made you, I guess, quit finance, get into firefighting? Did you always kind of want to be a firefighter, or I guess take us through that?
So it's kind of funny. When I was a little kid, like everyone else, I had the plastic helmet and always pretended. But at the time, I took the test in maybe 2011. And, like I said, I'm from Rockaway, and everyone in my hometown is cops, firemen, teachers. So all my friends are going to take the test. And at the time, I was still in college, and I kind of just took it just for the hell of it. And, a few years I worked in finance for 5 or 6 years of commuting 3 hours a day and sitting in a cubicle staring at spreadsheets. Kind of every day sounded more and more appealing. And then I finally, got called, and I was just not happy in my work situation. It's definitely a big change. I'm very happy I did it, and I'm way happier than I was now. But, as you guys know, the landscape, the work environment has changed. What I've hated my job as much as if I was working from home. Probably not. Probably not. One of the biggest reasons people love our job is obviously the brotherhood and the job we're doing, but it was the flexibility of the schedule. If you're working from home now, our job is appealing in a lot of aspects, 100%. But now you actually have to go somewhere as opposed to working from home. But I'm 1,000 times over glad I made the switch, and I'm way happier now than I was.
That's
So,
great to hear. Well, thank
yeah.
you for, I guess, your service or whatever you want to call it. Appreciate it.
thank you.
What's we want? Obviously, the main reason you're here. Got the FDNY against NYPD hockey game this Saturday, April 15th. For those viewing, probably saw the unfortunate, I guess, brace on your elbow there.
Yeah, no
So
good.
I guess you won't be playing in the
Nope.
game on Saturday, but obviously you
Come
are part of
on,
the
you
team.
can get out there, man. That doesn't matter.
Listen, boy,
You can hold your elbow.
What kind
you
of a
can-
hockey? What kind of a hockey player were you?
you guys want to hear something funny? This is actually since I started playing in, I guess, in Pee Wee's. This is the first game that I'm probably ever going to miss because of injury. So knock on wood, but I had a good run,
Nice.
and if I didn't have those braces on my arm, believe me, I'd be out there.
Just get some cortisone in there. You'll be fine.
Did you guys happen to watch that Spin Chicklets documentary? Haven't seen
I
this?
haven't yet, but I definitely want to. Did you get an appearance on there?
Well, see, this is. I've had no luck this year. I got about 5 or 6 text messages from friends from college and guys I grew up playing with. They're like, "What the hell happened? You weren't in it at all." Long story short, they filmed it. They actually came on a trip with us and came to a bunch of practices. My second son was born in January, and they pretty much did all the filming for it for us in that 2-week stretch. So I'm not in it at all.
Oh shit!
So I had no luck this season. Just
I think it was
across the
released yesterday or this morning.
board. No, it was 8.
I think you got muted again somehow, buddy.
Stop touching your AirPods, dude.
Keep losing that one AirPod.
I'm
There
trying
you go.
to reach across and get in with my good arm.
All good. All good.
he's
What were you
not-
saying?
he's
Yeah, it
not
was
using
released
the
when?
elbow.
You're good.
You can hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it got released on April 5th.
Oh, okay.
Where'd it get
Last
released?
Wednesday, I think.
I didn't even hear about this.
It's on YouTube, right? It's just a quick
Yeah.
documentary, and then the Spit and Chicklets crew is going to be broadcasting the game on Saturday. Ryan
Nice.
Whitney's going to be between the benches. Biz is going to be commentating. So yeah, that should be a fun watch for all you guys. So
what's
did you
your,
immediately what?
I was going to ask him what his position was on the team.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead. I was just
No,
going to ask how he made the team, and I guess his whole journey.
What's the
through
process? Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of, like we were saying before, hockey's a small community. So by the time I got on the job, I had a bunch of friends already on the team. So they kind of have an idea like, oh, this guy's in the academy. Like a bunch of guys just graduated the last academy. He'll be on the team next year. We kind of know who's going to be, coming out and who's actually going to make the team. Then you also have some guys that just show up. So they pretty much put out the first day of practice, and we have 50 guys show up. And it's essentially keep coming down until they tell you not to. So we carry 40-plus guys on the roster.
Jeez.
And then, so we have a lot of guys that are practice guys, and we do a bunch of trips. So if some of the regular guys don't come on the trips, then it kind of trickles in who's the next guy in line to fill in. And then obviously, situation like this, well, I'm usually a regular guy. I got hurt. We have another 1 or 2 guys that are kind of banged up, and then we have more than enough guys. We're all very good. Like we have guys that are bubble guys that play junior A. Like our team right now is way better. This is my sixth year on the team, and every year the team just gets better and better. So it's kind of next man up kind of thing. We have such a deep roster of guys that can play that there's guys just fill in, when other guys can't make it or guys get hurt.
That's great. So yeah, you mentioned you guys go on a lot of trips. I mean, give us some examples on some of the trips you go on, tournaments, I guess you compete in.
So it's actually a little crazy. It's we did Colorado twice. The first trip I didn't go on because, like I said, it was right after my son was born. We went to Reno, Nevada, and then
Wow.
they just went to Santa Rosa, California. So it's kind of, we play these senior A teams, which is essentially like, I guess, semi-pro level. And it's full contact fights. It's kind of, it's like it's these small towns pack their rink out. And, it's guys usually in their late 20s, to 30s, early 40s that work full-time jobs and, play on the weekends. And Vail is crazy. The whole town comes. There's like 1,500 people. They're throwing beer cans on the ice. It's a lot of fun. We actually had it was pictures floating around. We had like a brawl on the handshake line this year against them in one of the trips.
Oh my god.
So
Well, I mean, for any of you listeners out there, you could probably know you have a history against the NYPD, and those games get pretty brutal. I think you guys haven't lost in what, 6 or 7 years or something like that.
Yeah, I since I've been on, I think we had 1 year we missed because of COVID, and then we had one tie, and then the other 3 games I think we won since I've been on. I have to say, and I'm not just saying this because I'm biased, but a lot of the chippiness and fights is all started by them. I'm not that's not our game. We know that that's how they play, and they come out, and it's almost like the first 20 minutes we just try not to let them they just run all over the ice trying to hit us, and we kind of try to weather the storm, and then settle in. But they had
Can't say I'm shocked by that.
yeah. Yeah, we on paper we have a very, very strong team, and I think they know the way to keep it close is to try to play tight and throw the body around and get chippy with us.
Well, that's hockey, right?
Yeah.
That's the way to slow you down. So I mean, how often are these trips, and like, do you guys have any big victories lately? Did you bring home any trophies that you can talk about?
So it's actually not even. This season was a little different. We used to play in the Chelsea Piers as an A division men's league, which is like a lot of Division I guys that all live in the city. So we did that for my first 4 years on the team, and this year we pretty much just played these games against these like teams. So we just go away for a weekend, and it would be like a 2-game series, and then we had the team from California. We went out there for 2 games. They came to play us for 2 games. Team from Canada came down for 2 games. So it wasn't really tournaments. We would just play these like 2-game series. I think we did 10 or 12 games this year. And March, like I said, I got hurt halfway through, but it's kind of crazy. We probably had 8 games in March plus practice 2 times a week. The last 2 months of the season get pretty crazy, and this we still have to go to work. We don't get off of this.
Where do you
Take it
guys
easy.
practice?
Take it easy now. I know a bunch of firemen. Relax.
That's a lie. It's all a lie.
Where do you guys practice? Is it consistent, or you just find ice at wherever's offered? Or
So what we do is we practice once a week at Coney Island and once a week at Freeport. And reason being, we have guys that live all the way in Staten Island and guys that live all the way out east on Long Island. So we kind of try to divvy it up and make it somewhat fair for everybody. But
and guys go to both practices, or like the
Yeah.
East guys go to the one? You have
no,
to.
we got to be at everything. Otherwise, you get called out in a group chat and you get yelled at. It's
Oh my
not really
God.
optional, unfortunately.
Wow, coming from Staten
guys
Island
ever
to Freeport for practice, we complain, huh?
Do you guys ever play other fire departments like Chicago or Detroit or LA?
So we actually played Boston this year, and I'll be honest, it's gotten to a point. Our team is so strong than it's ever been. Is that a lot of these? I don't know why, but we kind of had like we played Boston this year and we beat them up pretty bad. Not physically, just on the scoreboard. So we've kind of went out of that nature of playing like other departments to find games that are a little more comparable for us.
It's okay. You could say it. You guys are obviously just better than all the other departments. So not really.
I mean, like I said, this is the best team this year that we've ever had. So
You got to have a bigger talent pool. There's a lot more firemen in New York City probably than any other city.
100%.
So you have more talent pool, but
Yeah.
I'm
I would've
surprised
figured
Boston
Bo-
doesn't
I
have a
would've
good
figured-
team, though.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would have figured Boston would be able to compete a little better.
Me too, but you don't know if some of those teams who travels with them. Like for
Right.
us, it's like it's not really. If you're on the team, you pretty much have to try to make everything. So I don't know what the commitment level is with some of those other organizations. It's
Right.
and it's kind of funny without getting into too much detail. With all the guys on the team, it's tough to manage kids. Working 24-hour shifts, going right to practice, and then without your wife screaming at you. It's a fine line for them to
Good luck
be
with
okay
that.
with it. And then all of a sudden, it's you haven't been home in 4 fucking days. I'm watching the kids. You got to go to play hockey again. So
Yeah, Brian, I'm curious. I live in Miami. Obviously, I don't have FDNY, but our local fire departments. I mean, they all have like other jobs. They're not like that's not like their main job. They're public adjusters and
oh really?
whatever. I mean, they're volunteers. So I'm just curious. I mean, is this like a full-time gig for you? Firefighting and
Oh yeah.
how
Yeah,
does
so for us, it's usually 2 24-hour shifts a week. But then because there was a hiring freeze during COVID, so the manpower is very low. So this overtime is through the roof. But a lot of guys, do have side jobs. Guys in my firehouse, electricians, plumbers. I used to ref. Unfortunately for us during hockey season, it's very, very hard to have a second job and play.
When you say 24-hour shift, though, I mean,
Yeah.
are you literally like in the firehouse just waiting on call for 24 hours?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I usually, I'll go in at 4 in the afternoon and not get out until 4 p.m. the next day. Or
Yeah.
5 o'clock. It's 5 to 5, depending on your firehouse. What time.
You ever out on the truck and you put the sirens on when there's no emergency just to beat traffic?
Yeah. I'm not supposed to. I don't know the politically correct way to answer that, but of course, you're trying to.
One time that happened to me, there was a fire truck behind me on like a side street, and they put the sirens on. So I moved over. I got nervous, like anxious, and I just swerved to the side of the road. I hit the curb and popped my tire. And then the truck drove by and they were all laughing. I saw them and they were laughing, and then they turned the sirens off. And I was like, these guys, they had nowhere to go. They just wanted to pass me.
That's a curb your enthusiasm. That's a curb your enthusiasm episode.
I had to wait for a tow truck.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, so I started driving there's the engine in the truck. I'm in the ladder company. I started driving about 2 years ago, and I drive once in a while. My first run ever driving, I hit a curb and popped a tire, and
on the truck.
At the end of that, it was my first run ever. I had to get the tow truck to come and replace the tire. It was a disaster.
Oh, so now every time I hear sirens, I wonder. I'm like, is there really an emergency?
Yeah, it depends.
I guess that's an interesting question. What's explain the difference between the ladder, the engine, and like different aspects of the job for FDNY?
So the engine has is the hose on the back, and they obviously put out the fire. Truck has the ladder, ladder company. It's like search and rescue, but on a more other than fire related. The truck does stuck elevators, water leaks, gas leaks, and then the engine does all the EMS runs. So anytime an ambulance gets dispatched for certain calls, the engine company has a faster response time. So unfortunately, usually in the firehouse, the engine company usually does either a third or double the runs that the truck company does because they go on all the medical calls. So that's always a joke in the middle of the night. The alarm goes off. 75% of the time it's for the engine. So the truck guys get up and do a sit up and go back to bed, and the engine guys got to run out and go on a medical call. So they get a little salty about that. So usually most guys start on the engine, and then you can transfer within your own house to the truck company. I was fortunate enough to start on the truck, but the engine definitely does more runs, and guys tend to like being on the truck more, but. They both have their benefits. Sure.
You ever save a cat from a tree or no?
I think we got a dog down once from not from a tree, but no cats yet.
I think, Coach, I wanted to ask you before. I guess what's your position? You already said you're on the ladder, but do you have a title with the FDNY? And also, what's your position on the hockey team?
No, so I'm just a regular fireman. I actually had the lieutenant's test in December, which I took, and I did fairly well on. So in the next few years, I'll probably, get promoted at some point whenever they got up to me. But I'm absolutely in no rush at all. On the actual truck itself, there's 5 different positions, and you kind of rotate. There's like inside team, which goes in with the lieutenant, and then the outside team that goes in through the windows, and then obviously the guy driving. So we kind of within the on the truck, we kind of rotate based on seniority, who wants what position that day, that kind of thing. On the hockey team, I play center. Like I said, our team's getting younger and better, so I'm hanging on. I was hanging on to a spot on the second power play prior to my injury, but we'll see what happens next year when I get back.
So how did you get this injury, if you don't mind talking about it?
No, it's unfortunate. It was at a stuck elevator at work. The elevator was in between floors. Sometimes we try different ways to get it out, and they open the door and people are in it, and ended up having to try to force the door, to break it open. and it kind of popped out of nowhere, and I kind of fell forward and smashed my arm on like the bottom of the elevator. Was in between floors.
Jeez,
So if you can imagine, like the bottom of the elevator was like, let's say in between the first and second floor. So it was at like waist height. So when the door went forward, when the door like kind of jerked, I kind of fell forward onto the bottom of the elevator.
So you didn't climb out the top of the elevator and try and like go up the rope?
I've done that before. I've had to go into the top. It sucks.
As you could tell, Eddie watches a lot of movies and shows.
No, it happens.
I'm thinking Die Hard.
And a lot of
elevator.
Simpsons episodes.
Nah,
That's true.
How to get a 70-year-old woman out of the top of an elevator? I've done that before. Not fun.
Wow.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. And
Yeah.
like Eddie said earlier, thank you for doing that. I mean, being a firefighter is no joke. So, what's your, if you don't mind, I don't want to,
Sure. No, go ahead.
what is your, I don't want to say worst experience as a firefighter, but maybe most nerve wracking. I don't know what the word would be.
It's kind of. I mean, I've seen some pretty messed up things. Like, you can imagine people getting hit by subways and people at fires that you could afterwards see them, as you can imagine.
Damn.
But in terms of actually going to fires, it's guys kind of look forward to it. It's obviously nerve wracking. Your adrenaline, gets going. You get in situations that are a little scary, but it's the nature of the job, and it's actually part of it. Like, if let's say I was supposed to be working that day and I switched off with somebody, and then your company goes to a fire, you're upset you missed it. You want to be there. It's it's an adrenaline rush. It's kind of it's fun for us.
That's why
the reason you do it.
Losing their property and we don't want that part of it, but we like being there. If that makes sense.
But you have the uniform to protect you from the fire and stuff like that, so you feel like decent when you go into a fire.
I mean, that's what it's supposed to be, but you get put in a situation where
I know, I
always do
get
what
it.
it's supposed to. So it can be scary at times, but the more and more experience you have by going to fires, you feel more comfortable. And you rely on the senior guys in your firehouse to really teach you, and kind of it's a lot of on-the-job training.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Bryan, we can't thank you enough for coming on. I think we took up a lot of your time. We can give you back to your wife now. But before we let you go, do you have any? What'd you say? What'd you say?
Believe me, I'm home on work on medical leave. She's had enough of me already. She wish I could have went somewhere to do this tonight.
Maybe one day we'll have a studio and we'll have you by. But do you have any like fundraisers or anything like that you want to shout out? Some of your buddies obviously are playing this weekend. You can give them a shout out. Whatever you want.
So
yours.
Yeah, we do a lot of fundraising. We sell like raffle tickets, and we have a media guide that we sell like advertisements in. And we actually, if there's any line of duty deaths over the course of the year, which, unfortunately there usually is, we actually have the family come in the locker room before the game, and we usually write them, not that money would obviously solve any problems when you lose a loved one, but we usually donate to the families. And then we have the Ray Fiver Foundation. One of the guys that used to play on the team is big with them, and essentially raises money and helps guys affected by 9/11 and guys that are still dealing with 9/11 illness and cancers. So we work really closely with them. But we raise a ton of money, and we're very happy to give back, and obviously having the families in the locker room before the game, and a lot of them unfortunately have young kids. It's nice to see yourself giving back and doing something nice. But a big part of being on this team is doing these fundraisers and raising money and selling the stuff to get back to the families and people who need it.
Nice, very
That's
nice.
awesome. No, that's great. So, is there anywhere people can go online and donate for the fundraiser, or is it in person?
It's usually it's a little close to the game now, but I usually just like I said, we have these raffle tickets and journals and stuff like that. I don't think there's any place specifically online where someone could just go donate.
All right, are you a Ranger fan or an Islander fan?
Oh, I'm definitely a Ranger fan.
All right,
Nice.
thank God.
Yeah.
I got my
listening to-
2-year-old. I got my 2-year-old.
I was worried. You're like, oh, Long Island,
I got my 2-year-old son with the little net in the house. When he scores, he goes, "Hey, Hey, he does a Rangers show now.
Oh,
Hey
nice.
Brian, thank you again. Seriously,
No,
thank you
thanks-
for
thanks
coming
for
on.
having me, guys.
We took up almost an hour of your night.
good.
I appreciate you coming on. I mean, thank you again for what you do with the fire department. I think that's not something I'd be able to do. So I got a lot of
New York's
respect for you
bravest.
for that. Yeah,
Right.
got a lot of respect for you for that. And hockey aside, I got a respect for you for the game as well. But that alone is worthy of a shout out, and I appreciate it.
Appreciate
Thank
it,
you very
fellas.
much. Yep, for sure.
Absolutely. Thank
Yeah,
you.
good talking to you again. Hopefully everything works out with your boys. Hopefully they start skating soon.
Back, yeah,
Listen,
I had
if you're reffing Coach Ed, do not let him wear the cowboy hat. Just that should not be allowed. He's not a cowboy. He's not a
after this
cowboy.
conversation, he gets a 10-minute misconduct right off the bat for in the
Well,
cowboy.
now we know that you don't know the rules. So show me the rule book.
That was your first mistake. Telling
You
me
better
that.
bring the rule book. Yeah.
And the funny part was, I'd been around for so long. You got to take a test every year at the seminar.
Oh my
I would have, they
god.
would just give me the answers. They wouldn't even make me take it anymore.
Oh my god, that's great. Right. All right.
Well,
Thanks,
good
buddy.
luck
And
to you.
sure, we'll be in touch for sure. And hopefully, I'll run into you at the gym again.
Awesome.
He'll
Awesome.
quit,
A lot of
bud.
fun, guys. Thank you. Thanks
When
for
you're all
having me.
healed up, maybe we can get
Thanks,
get
Brian.
nights together again.
Sounds good.
Speedy recovery,
Be
man.
safe out there.
Thank you.
Be safe
Thank you,
out there.
guys. Have a good night.
Later, brother.
Nice.
Good
Thanks.
night.